With the new year just a few days away from us now, I feel like it's about high time to put together one final listicle of cigars for you to consider. Not because, well, I'm a huge listicle guy. I mean, we do a fair deal of them, but it's also because, well, this topic of Connecticut shade wrapped cigars is something that's a little bit of an anomaly to me. While I could go on and on all day about Maduro cigars or Corojos and fuller strength smokes, Connecticut shade wrapped cigars are still something that I don't find myself always gravitating toward. I prefer typically a little bit more sun-grown, toothier, spicier smokes. But that's not to say that I don't really appreciate a quality Connecticut shade-grown cigar every now and then. In fact, I actually do smoke a fair deal of them, typically about one or two a week. It's just that you don't really see them in my reviews because I find that a lot of them just don't make the cut. They're just not always really interesting to me, or they are too delicate, or and the wrappers don't burn evenly, or there's some form of issue with them that keeps them from making it to the list. Remember, here at Claro, it has to be a 4.0 star cigar or above for me to go back to it, smoke another one, and actually review it. So bear that in mind, because today's list is of the 5 best Connecticut shade-grown cigars I smoked in 2023, with a few of them being some that, well, you probably have never even heard of. Kicking things off at number 5 on the list is the Llama Drina Shade from Dapper Cigar Company. This cigar rocked my world and scored a 4.4 out of 5, more or less, which is pretty damn good. When I first encountered this cigar back at the PCA trade show, I fired it up, liked it, and said, you know what, we should consider getting it in. So spoke with Michael, we ended up carrying it, and then when I smoked it, 2 months later, I'd say, whew, it rocked me all over again. And not just in how delicious it was and clean burning and all that, as well as its dapper branding, but with its strength. This is not your typical Connecticut shade. It is packing the regular La Madrina filler and binder combos inside. So it's got some kick to it. So fair warning on that. If you prefer the milder end of the spectrum, this ain't for you. This is definitely for those who can handle some strength as well as a good bit of medium full body. Flavor profiles, absolutely delish. Tart and doughy at times and caramelly and nutty at others. Wonderful construction. And save for having a little bit of a draw issue at first, the cigar burned wonderfully. Really great smoke. Highly recommended if you can handle a little bit of strength. Number 4 on the list, which coincidentally scored the exact same rating as number 5 with a 4.4 out of 5 stars, was the Oscar Valladares, the Oscar Connecticut. Now, this is not to be mistaken for other Connecticut cigars from Oscar Valladares. This is a brand new blend that just came out at PCA, very quietly at that. Not a lot of people talked about it. But despite there not being a whole bunch of hubbub about this cigar, it's worth mentioning that it just rocks in a medium status too. It's not full, it's not mild, it's just right in the center in body, flavor, and strength toward the end of the smoke. The cigar itself stands out because, well, unlike a lot of smokes which are wrapped up in cellophane, it's a leaf product, so it has this old school candela leaf that just kind of protects the most of the barrel of the cigar. So that's kind of neat from a packaging standpoint. That caught the eye. But also, for me personally, firing one up and smoking it, woo-wee. Man, vanilla and almonds, a little bit earthy, very creamy, clean burning, clean smelling, just really very pleasant and not too strong without not being a super buoyant smoke. Squeaking in just a fuzz above number 5 and number 4 on the list is the Sancho Panza DOL. This cigar scored a 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. These points were not allocated based purely upon aesthetics, because while the Llama Drina Shade, as well as the Oscar Connecticut, just look absolutely outstanding and their aesthetics, the Dulcinea, like many Sancho Panza cigars, kind of, well, doesn't look like much of anything.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Actually, if it were an item that were not a cigar, I'd refer to it as a brown paper bag, because I mean, just look at it. It really is just plain Jane. But the box pressed long torpedo tip on it is very appealing to me. The blend has gone pretty much unchanged since, well, forever. And there's a reason for that. It's still American grown Connecticut shade wrapped tobacco leaf, as well as filler and binder combo that builds a little bit of body and strength. Not in a bad way either. It's minuscule. It levels up gradually to reaching medium and then does not go beyond that. It may not be the most complex cigar on the market, but then again, it's not meant to be. It's sweet cedar, leather, little earthiness, and super clean tasting. It's just a smoke that I find myself going back to time and time again, and it never leaves me wanting. It's just a good go-to. Also, another one of those that won't break the bank because it is quite affordable, which also adds points to the overall score for these cigars. Number 2 on our list of best Connecticut shade-grown cigars of 2023 ended up being the Parte Gas Cortado. Sold here at Claro in a smaller Corona Vitola, this cigar really surprised me and then surprised me all over again and again and again. Every single stick that I have smoked has been consistent and clean and surprisingly rich. Don't let that Ecuadorian shade-grown wrapper fool you. It may look all buttery and light on the outside, but inside you will find an Indonesian binder with lots of that Sumatran spice to it. Filler ingredients also add a little bit more oomph to this cigar, with a Honduran, Mexican, and Nicaraguan trifecta giving you the old what for. This cigar is very, very much just this buttery at first, honey like the next, and toasty, roasty, rich, and surprisingly darker than you would expect. In essence, this is one of those cigars that gives you borderline medium full flavor profiles in a very rich, complex package, but then wrap it all up in this nice, light, buttered toast-like Ecuadorian shade wrapper. Super clean, very smooth, great aromatics, and well worth the 4.6 out of 5-star rating that I gave it. And the number 1 best Connecticut shade-grown cigar that I reviewed in 2023 hit me straight out of left field, and I'd let it hit me all over again, was the La Palina white label. Manufactured down in the Dominican Republic, this cigar is just a complete enigma to me, actually. I didn't expect much of it, even though it looked and smelled nice, and I smoked it and went, well, damn, I gotta smoke another. And I did, and actually I have one in my hand now, which I'm actually about to go smoke again. It's just, I can't find anything really seriously wrong with the cigar. It's like small issues here and there, it could be a little more complex in this area. And oh, that flavor transition could have been a little bit more elongated, but this is all nitpicky stuff. It's small potatoes compared to the bigger picture. This cigar delivers. It's got Piloto Cubano tobacco in it from the Dominican, which adds a fair deal of strength and flavor and body, as well as other types of tobacco that make it more round, including a double whammy of Mexican San Andres tobacco. Not just in the filler, but in the binder as well. There is depth here, more than any other Connecticut shade-grown cigar that I've smoked all year. Flavors of just honeycomb in the center of it. That's the closest thing I could compare it to. And it just, I found myself putting on my handkerchief. I was drooling so much when I smoked it. It's just juicy, really good cigar. And perhaps one of the more interesting things about this cigar to me, too, is its wrapper, which, like some other cigars on this list, including the Oscar, is an Honduran Connecticut Shade-Grown wrapper. So there's a little bit more earth to it and a little bit more, intensity than your typical Ecuadorian, or dare I even say, USA domestic Connecticut shade-grown tobacco. Again, it's just one of those smokes that I find myself surprised that I liked as much as I did. And then I smoke one and realize I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That was a really damn good cigar.